الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله أوله بلا أول كان قبله وآخره بلا آخر يكون بعده الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا حبيبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وعليه الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الدائم على أعدائهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكر فضائلهم ومناقبهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم والسلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. The third night of the month of Muharram, in which we will be commemorating the martyrdom of Hazrat Hur. The Messiah will be of Hazrat Hur, who was last one to join and first one to become Shaheed. And as the teachers of akhlaq, ulama, especially who are of spiritual wayfaring, sayr suluk, they advise that whenever we are having or commemorating a majlis, a gathering in the month of Muharram, and we will be talking about that Shaheed, one should do tawassul, to that Shaheed, create that relationship with that Shaheed. When it comes to Hazrat Hur, there are some indications that ulama, scholars have mentioned. Hazrat Hur is considered to be very effective in regards to worldly and material, financial difficulties and the problems that a person is facing. Because there was a grand scholar who had done tawassul on a Wednesday to the grave of Hazrat Hur during the time of the Qajar, where in his dream Hazrat Hur mentioned that my master have sent you and he has made you the Agha, the master of Tehran. And then later on, I'm forgetting the name of the scholar, later on he became so powerful, I believe it was Madrasa Marvi, Rais Madrasa Marvi, Avalin, first scholar who was the principal of the Madrasa Marvi in Tehran, where the Shah itself will come to the principal of the school in order for any difficulties that the king of that time would face. So because he was so powerful in terms of his connection, because this madrasa is based in a very cosmopolitan and a very place where there are a lot of shops, there are a lot of business individuals and stuff. So he became very powerful. As he was facing some issue in terms of his worldly, and then he did tawassul to Hazrat Hur, and that's where they say Hazrat Hur have that power. Another very special thing in regards to Hazrat Hur that comes from Sayyid Muhsin Hakim. Sayyid Muhsin Hakim will go to the ziyarat of Hazrat Hur. As you know, he was a great marja, grand marja, Sayyid Muhsin Hakim, And when he would go there, he would, with his all, students and everybody, he would speak to Hur. He says, Hur, would say without a doubt that I am very better than you in three things. One, I'm Sayyid. So obviously, Hur is not Sayyid, I'm Sayyid. Number two, I'm a faqih. Obviously, faqih is knowledgeable and scholar and all that. And Hur was a commander of, I'm a faqih, I'm not. Right. Number three, I have thousands, millions of followers. Muqallid, he was alam, Bargah-e-Alam, said Musa. But in one thing, I come here and do tawassul to you. I humble myself in front of you. And that is the stamp that you have of Imam Zaman, I don't have. It's Imam Husayn. He stamped. And you know how he gave that stamp? With that rumal, with that handkerchief that Imam Husayn tied, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in our Masahib, to the head of Hur. Because Hur was bleeding, because some of our youngsters, they may not really fully comprehend Urdu, that's why I'm mentioning in English before. Because Hazrat Hur was bleeding from his head. Imam Husayn tied a handkerchief which belonged to Bibi Fatima. And when Shah Ismail, he came for the ziyarat of Imam Husayn, Safavid period we're talking about. Because it was the Safavids who actually constructed the harams of Masumin alayhi salam. All the gold domes and that we have in Karbala, in Najaf, in Samira, in all other places, it was the Shah Ismail. He was the one who contributed. May Allah bless the soul of all those who have contributed towards the Azadari of Imam Husayn and Imam Husayn alayhi salam. So he says that when he came to Iraq to do ziyarat of Imam Husayn, he said, Hur is buried in a different place. He's not buried with the Shuhada, right? And he doubts. He says Hur was responsible for, stopping Imam Husayn from going, to Kufa, because he was ordered to stop Imam Husayn, not to go to Kufa. That's why Imam Husayn was stuck in Karbala. He came with 1,000 men to stop Imam Husayn. He stood in front of him, right? And on the other hand, Hur was also with the, army of Umar Saad, of Yazid, till the 10th day, till the morning of 10th day, he was with Umar Saad army, right? So on the 7th day, when the water was stopped to the tents of the Imam Husayn, Hur was part of that decision. He didn't say anything, he was part of that decision. Or for example, when they removed the tents, because initially they put the tents near the river of Euphrates. Later on, they were asked to remove the tents far away from the Euphrates. And Hur was part of that decision as well. He didn't say anything, right? So, Shah Ismail said that, all of these things, that Hur have done, and he's not with the Shuhada, this means that there's a problem with him, that maybe he's not forgiven or something. So he was the Shah, he ordered to dig open the grave of Hur. So they dig the grave of Hur after 1,000, years or so, 1,200 years or so. They found the body of Hur intact, pure. Nothing happened to the body of Hur. It was as if just buried now. And as it's been mentioned in the narratives about the handkerchief of Bibi Fatima, which was tied on the head of Hur, right? So he ordered to remove this, right? And that to be in the relics, because he's the Shah, and this is a very important handkerchief, and to be in the relics, in his museum or in his Ashur Khana or whatever. As soon as they removed, fresh blood started to come. They tied something else, the blood wasn't stopping. Till the point they say the whole grave was filled with blood. And then they have to tie that handkerchief back and, bury him back. So this shows that, Hakim, that's why I said, Hakim says that stamp which you have from Imam Zaman, I don't have. That handkerchief that's given of Bibi Fatima, that is with you, I don't have. That's why I come to you and I do tawassul. Because the ashab of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, they were very unique and special. They were very special. There was a man, when the caravan of Imam Husayn left from Mecca towards Kufa, because it was a Hajj time as well, right? A lot of people, Muslims, they all came. It was Zil-Hijj, Arafa, and we were getting there. And he held to the cloth of Kaaba and he was crying. He was saying, Ya Allah, please make me from the companions of Imam Husayn. As we recite, in the du'as, that Ajil, Imam Zaman should come and we should be from the ashab of the Imam Zaman. So this man also is, obviously he was a grandson. He said, oh Allah. Then he said, okay, go with him. Then he says, Asma'u ha'ulai maktuba. The asma, the names of these companions already written. It's been already decided. The names of the companions, ha'ulai maktuba. So the ashab were very unique and special of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, in terms of their ma'rifah, in terms of their understanding. That's why the sixth Imam in ziyarat of ashab of Imam Husayn, what does he say? May my life be sacrificed to them. The sixth Imam is coming and saying, and my life be sacrificed to ashab of Imam Husayn. They were of great honor. They were of great ma'rifah and understanding. They could see what is their position and station in the hereafter, because Imam Husayn showed him. And they were of a level where we recited that hadith of the fifth Imam, that the iron become of no effect, just like how the fire was for Ibrahim. These were the ashab of Imam Husayn. Because Rasulullah have said, oh Husayn, you will go to Karbala, and a Jamaat will follow, a group will follow, companions will follow. And they will be so strong that nothing can really deviate them. They will be steadfast in their path, right? And the iron will have no effect on their bodies. That's how strong they will be. So the ashab were very special and unique. And that's why, the beginning nights of the 10 days, we dedicate these nights to companions of Imam Husayn alayhi salam, and we take lesson from their life. Particularly and peculiarly, Hazrat Hur is one of those, which many of us and me involved with, such as till the last minute he was with the enemies of Imam Husayn. Right, till the last second he was with the enemies. Right, he has committed so many, crime after crime in a way against the Imam of the time, but realizes his mistake and does tawbah, and his tawbah is accepted. So tonight is a night of tawbah as well, and paying allegiance to the Imam of our time. Oh Imam of our time, we have come here, right? And we want to join you. We want to be with you. We have done whatever we have done. And Hur was welcomed by the open arms, by Imam Husayn alayhi salam, right? So Hur and his personality, his, the way, his path and all that, it kind of synchronizes with our narrative to a degree that, and we pay allegiance to the Imam, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We will be discussing more in terms of his Masaib later on in Urdu, inshallah. The topic that we have chosen for the first 10 nights is to reflect in the Du'a Arafa of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam, which is one of the very famous du'as that we have. There are two du'as of Arafa. One is from Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam. This is Du'a Arafa of Imam Zainul Abidin. And also there is a Du'a Arafa of Imam Husayn alayhi salam. That is also very famous. The reason why we are reflecting on Du'a Arafa is in order to understand the persona, the personality of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn, peculiarly on the day of Arafah, because that's the day he is reciting that dua till the day of Ashura. How he was on the day of Ashura, how he was on the day of Arafah. Because there's a relationship of these two days. Now, in order to do that, we said that we have to have at least two premise, to start discussing that discussion. We started one of the premise, which was to really know what Arafa is. And we said that, there is a value of zaman and makan. Every makan has a value. Every place has a value. And things multiply because of that makan, because of that place. For example, right? Or zaman the same way. For example, if I pray on time, the reward of praying on time is way more than if I pray, for example, delay my prayer, pray late. They asked the Prophet, how do you compare that? The Prophet showed a mountain, and he says, look at this mountain. He says, huge, big mountain, right? If somebody prays on time, the reward of that is like huge mountain that he showed, and then he showed an egg, small. If somebody who delays the prayer, the reward is that. To understand that how much is the difference. Or for example, in the narration of the sixth Imam, it says that when you pray on time, the prayers goes towards the heaven while praying for the person who have prayed. That you have enlightened me. You have given me light to the prayers by praying on time. And when a person who delays the prayer, prays late, the prayer goes up, but it doesn't pray, but rather says that you have darkened me by delaying the prayer. Sayyid Ali Qazi Tabatabai was the Ustad of Allama Tabatabai, a great scholar. Sayyid Qazi Tabatabai was a very mysterious scholar. Things that been mentioned about him in regards to that, he was a master in Tahlul Arz, which is astro body traveling. He was in Najaf, but at the same time he was seen in Mashhad. He could travel very fastly. He was a master in spirituality and mysticism. Allama Tabatabai says that I had already studied, Asfar, which is a higher level of philosophy, right? But I studied again with Sayyid Ali Qazi, it was something else completely. The methodology of tafsir of Mizan, which we're speaking about, Allama Tabatabai says that it was my teacher, Sayyid Ali Qazi, taught me this methodology of tafsir of Quran, which is bil Quran, doing tafsir of Quran with Quran. We don't have any works as such, like books and stuff from Sayyid Ali Qazi Tabatabai. However, we have that, that lineage, that sort of chain of students that come from Sayyid Ali Qazi, who he had trained and have become experts in spirituality. They say that things that have been mentioned in regards to Sayyid Ali Qazi Tabatabai, like for example, he would know the future, he would see the reality of things. He was so powerful in his spirituality. There was a dead snake in Wadi Salam. He asked the snake to come to life. Bi'idhnillah, the snake came to life. He was able to speak to mountains. He was an expert in Aql science, which is Ulum-e Gharibe. One day his son was trying to resolve a problem of Raml. Raml is a science of throwing dice, and you're looking at the future of Ilm Jafar. His son was an expert, and he was trying to solve a problem, and his father was passing by, and his son was stuck. And Sayyid Ali Qazi said, place these dice in different places, and the problem was solved. And his son said, oh father, you tell me not to get into this throwing dice, Raml and Jafar and all that, and you yourself, it seems to be learning this in secret. He says, no, I don't, because his father will always, Sayyid Ali Qazi will say that don't get into all of this. Work on your nafs, spirituality, on fiqh, on usul and Quran, right? Because these things are very attractive, right? So he says that no, and how do you know this? Then he said, well, I ask Allah to help me. At that very instant, the knowledge was given to me, right? So this was the Sayyid Ali Qazi, just as a background for you to know. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Yeah. So therefore, this scholar we were speaking about, I lost the track, I'm so sorry. That's how Sayyid is, you know what I mean? It kind of takes you away from discussing. So in any case, I was mentioning that because there were so many stories of Sayyid Ali Qazi just coming one after the other, which I wanted to mention for our youngsters. So now, we are talking about Arafah. So every makan, have a value. So therefore, the makan, for example, that you pray, right, masjid, the value becomes greater than you praying in house. Or for example, the time that you pray on time. Yes, Sayyid Ali Qazi says if somebody prays on time, he will reach to higher levels of spirituality. This is what I wanted to mention, which I forgot. Then Agha Bahjat have mentioned this, because Agha Bahjat was also his student. He will reach to higher levels of qurb. He would be able to see the reality and the truth of things, right? Then Agha Bahjat asked him that praying on time with huzur qalb, because whenever we are praying, our mind is boggling here and there. He says, no, not huzur qalb, just pray on time. Just if somebody prays on time, he will be taken to places. He will reach higher levels. So that's how much important is praying on time. So there's a value of time. There's a value of time. That's why, namaz awwal waqt. You want to have to perform namaz as soon as it happens. We should just stand for prayers. This is one of the things that we should really teach our children at home now that it's holidays, is that praying on time. And one of the ways which I have noticed, which is helpful, praying on time, is giving azan at home. And they say that whenever at home, give azan loudly. When you give azan loudly, and wherever the azan reaches the corners of your bedroom, of your house, the evil spirits will go away from the house. There will be barakah, there will be blessing. If somebody is having, issues in regards to, spirituality, manaviya, problems, issues, hurdles in their work, the ulama of akhlaq, they say, recite azan at home loudly, right? So at the time of Zohar, you go recite loudly azan, Fajr, loudly azan, Maghrib, Isha. As soon as you recite your azan, obviously you have to pray. It naturally will happen. When you are giving azan loudly, then it will be very embarrassing that, okay, you give azan now, it's time for prayer. So it helps. So in the beginning, one might be a bit shy. I personally, same thing. When I wanted to give azan loudly, or when I asked my son to give azan loudly, he is very shy to recite loudly. But gradually, you will come out of that. So always give azan loudly in houses. That way, the iman, the manaviya, the spirituality will be there in house. And also it will help us to pray on time, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa alihi. So now, value of time. There's value for time, praying on time. For example, night of Qadr, is a value for that. That is the night of Qadr. Khayrun min alf shahr. That time is very important. The time of Arafa, from the time of Zuhr, for example, before Maghrib, the Hujjaj, they all have to leave. Before Zuhr, they have to be there. Otherwise they have to pay kafara. Why? What's the difference? This is also time, that is also time. No, they have to. There's something very powerful in that time taking place. The angels descend at the time of azan. There's a change, there's a guard change of the angels. They are angels, right? And at the time of azan, the angels change. For example, at the time of Zohar, the angels which are here guarding me, they will go back to the heaven. At the time of Maghrib, they will come back. And when Allah asked the angels, what was my abd doing? Oh, he was preparing for prayer. He was getting ready for prayer. And the other angels said, what was my abd doing? Oh, he was preparing for prayer. He was getting. So Allah feels proud that, yes, see, because angels said, what have you created? Insan, they will be, killing each other and bloodshed and all that. Allah said that, I know what you not know, right? So insan, is somebody who should be always, and that's what Allah wants. Allah clearly said, "Ma khalaqtul jinna wal ins illa liya'budun." He has created jinn, men, In order that they worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they are always in the state of worship. That's what the angels will report. You know what I mean? So that's why on time, so at that hour, at that time, angels descend from the heaven. So when the angels are descending, it's a time of acceptance of du'as. That's why in the month of Ramadan, the Prophet, the last sermon says at the time of azan, raise your hands in dua. It's a time for acceptance of du'as. Because the heaven is open. When the angels can come from the heaven, when the door of the heaven is open, the angels will come out and the angels will go back, right? So it is that hour, right? So the angels are descending at that hour, right? So angels will report, the guards will change, at the time of Salah. So there is value of time. Night of Qadr is that. That's why it's better than 1,000 nights, right? The day of Arafah have that, that hour which the angels descend, forgiveness, all sins are forgiven, so on and so forth. And at the same time, you have the hadith saying that, the forgiveness of Allah, or Allah will look first at the zuwar of Imam Husayn on the day of Arafah. Then it will look at the Hujjaj. Because Arafah is there because of Imam Husayn. Because of the sacrifice of Imam Husayn, Arafah is there. Right? Hajj is there because of that. We mentioned that last night as well. So therefore, those who have gone for the ziyarat of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn alayhi salam, Allah will look at those zawar of Husayn first, and then will look at the zawar of Arafah, of Hujjaj who are there. Now for the children, it doesn't mean that means he's looking there, he's not looking there. No, it's trying to point out to the value, to the importance, of Imam Husayn alayhi salam and the zawar of Imam Husayn alayhi salam. So makan the same way, if somebody is just 1 meter away from the parameters of Arafah, he has to pay kafara. So there is a value of zaman and makan, right? So now you have this dua Arafah, which is a very important dua, which Imam Husayn alayhi salam recited in that makan of Arafah. Arafah comes from knowing, from ma'rifat. It's from the same root, Ma'rifat is actually understanding, not just knowing. Ma'rifat have the element of understanding. Many things we know, but we don't understand in full capacity, and we are still afraid of. For example, if there is a dead body and a doctor is asked to be all night with the dead body, although the doctor knows that is dead, nothing will happen, but this doctor will be very scared to stay all night alone in one room with the dead body. He has that knowledge, but he does not have the understanding, that ma'rifat to full capacity, right? So ma'rifah, Arafah comes from that. Why that ground is known as Arafah? They say that because in that ground, insan, increases the ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why all Hujjaj are asked to go to that ground. So that ta'asir, so that effect of that makan is there, upon the Hujjaj. And what ma'rifat do they get? Very briefly, these are very detailed discussion. The ma'rifat that, ya ayyuhal insan, O people, or for example, that hadith, that ya ayyuhal nas, antum fuqara ila Allah, inna Allah ghaniyul hamid. O insan, you are faqir. O insan, you are nothing. And Allah is everything. That is the highest level of ma'rifat. Then only the ubudiyat, the servitude, the worship will make sense and will take place. That insan is nothing in terms of his value. It's like number 3 is an odd number. Number 3 is an odd number. The oddness of number 3 is essential to number 3. Number 3 cannot be but odd. Insan is faqir, and insan cannot be nothing but faqir. It's faqr wujudi. Essentially, we are faqir. We are of no value. We are nothing in terms of our reality, right? So Arafah, the place, the ground of Arafah must give us that ma'rifat. Then only we will seek forgiveness in the right way. Then only the Hujjaj are allowed to enter the house of Allah with that purity. So that's that makan. That's the reality of that makan. And at the same time is zaman too. Both things, there's zaman of Arafah and there's makan of Arafah. The zaman also, helps, facilitate that understanding, for insan, right? Now, when the zaman and makan is helping insan to realize that, then the insan starts to mediate, becomes a mediator, becomes someone who could relate, because I'm nothing. When I'm nothing, what it is? It is nothing but la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I'm nothing. Then what I am? I'm just a medium of the delivery of the truth from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As they say that our heart is like a mirror, and this mirror gets dirty and rusted and dusty. We have to clean this heart, this mirror. When we clean this mirror, this heart, then the light of Allah will shine. That's how the light of Allah will shine. Right? So we become the Khalifatullah. We become the representatives of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We become the light of Allah on this earth. That's why Innal Husayn Misbahul Huda. Who is Hadi? Allah is Hadi. What is Hidayat? Quran is Hidayat. That's why Inni Tarikum Fikum Al-Thaqlain Kitab Allah wa Itrati. There is no difference between the Quran and Ahlul Bayt. They are one. Because Allah is Hadi, Husayn is Hadi. Right? So there's no difference in that. Kitab. That's why there's a beautiful saying of Imam Zaman, of Agha Bahjat, in regards to Imam Zaman. He says, who does not want to see Imam Zaman? Anybody here does not want to see Imam Zaman? We all want to see Imam Zaman. So Agha Bahjat says, go open the Quran. Look at the Quran. Looking at the Quran is looking at Imam Zaman. Because there is no difference between the Quran and Imam Zaman. But now, when we look at ourselves, how many times I open the Quran? I'm saying I want to be with Imam Zaman, I want to see Imam Zaman. But how many times am I reading the Quran? How many times I'm looking at the Quran? It's just same as how the Kufans were saying, Imam Husayn, please come, please come. But in terms of the action, it wasn't there. And that's why they flipped to the last minute. Right? If the action of looking at the Quran, reading the Quran, bringing the Quran into our life, then I'm a true follower of Imam Zaman. If that is not there, what good is that? The message of Imam Husayn was that. The message of Imam Husayn is the Quran. That's why, symbolically, if you look at it, when they severed the head of Husayn and they put it on the spear, the head was reciting Quran. So the message of Karbala is Salah, is praying, is Sawm, is Quran, right? That's what Imam Husayn is. So we have to bring Quran into our life, right? That's why the Prophet have said, I am leaving behind these two things, the Quran, Kitab Allah and my Ahlul Bayt. Alhamdulillah, that love, that Ahlul Bayt we have, right? And we have to work harder, a bit more, to bring the Quran into our life. It is there. I'm not saying, Alhamdulillah, it's not there. MashaAllah, all of you have that. I know. But a bit more extra, right? Salat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So when a person reaches to that level of ma'rifat, of that understanding, that cleaning of the heart takes place, then naturally that person becomes that light. That person becomes a guide. That person becomes a Khalifatullah. That's the concept of becoming, in insan, human beings are known to be potential representative of Allah on earth. Human beings are potential representative. But when they reach to the maximum capacity of their spirituality and they purify themselves, they become the Khalifatullah on earth. Right? Male or female, Khalifatullah as an insan. We say insan is the Khalifatullah. Insan includes female, insan includes male, both, not like man, right? So he becomes a Khalifatullah on earth. He becomes that light, he becomes that guide, right? By that purification, by that cleaning of the heart. That's why the first hadith, which Imam Khomeini also have discussed in the 40 hadiths, which is a very beautiful work, right, in Shehl Hadith, in the 40 Hadith, that Adam is created in the image of God. Insan have been created in the image of God, right? So insan is God-like. He is the Khalifa, he is the representative. Now, when he becomes that, then he becomes that light and guidance. When he becomes the light and guidance, then Allah speaks through his mouth. Allah speaks through his mouth. Whatever he says becomes the hujjat of Allah. That's why Masumeen, we have ayahs of the Quran which doesn't really talk about certain things which are halal, certain things which are haram, certain things that the way it should be performed. We don't have that. But qawl masum, the saying of a masum, is considered to be hujjat, as a proof. The qawl of Siddiqa Kubra Fatimatul Zahra Salamullah Alayha is considered as a proof, right? So if we have a hadith from the sixth Imam, it says that this thing is halal, it's proof. It's a word of God, because the sixth Imam is a masum, he's representing, he's the Khalifatullah, he's the Imam, he's representing God, and whatever he says, we have to accept. It's a hujjat on us, right? So, how that is? Because this man have reached to that maximum capacity of representing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the Khalifatullah. That's why you have the hadith of the fifth Imam, where he says, Allah says in the Quran, Lahul asma'ul husna fadu'u biha. They are the beautiful names of Allah, the 99 names that we recite, for example, and there are 1,000 names in Joshan and Kabir, and there are more as well, right? So these are the beautiful names of Allah. He is Rahman, He is Rahim, He is Qahar, He is Muhaymin, He is Aziz, He is Jabbar, He is Musawwir, so all that. These are all His attributes, these are all His qualities, who He is. So the Quran says, Fad'u biha, invoke these names, intercede these names, for what? To reach me. So one would say that, taking these names that, you should say, subhanallah, you should say, Ya Ghafuru, Ya Ghafuru, Ya Ghafuru. Okay, on a surface level, yeah. But in reality, the fifth Imam says, Nahnu asma'ullah. We are the names of Allah. So it's taking their wasila, doing tawassul to Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, through which we will reach Allah. Not, once again, tawassul of Ahlul Bayt means that, we say, Ya Husayn, Ya Husayn, Ya Husayn. No. It means what Husayn is saying, what Husayn is teaching, right? How Husayn is introducing Allah. Dua Arafa have that. Other duas have that. How Amirul Mu'mineen is describing Tawheed. What khutbah in Najul Balagha when he talks about Tawheed, where he says Tawheed means nafi an sifati. You get rid of all of these sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're saying He's Rahman, He's Rahim, He's this. No. This is for our imagination and our understanding. Allah is beyond that. You cannot depict, you cannot describe Allah. As the Quran says, Subhanallah amma yusifun in Surah Safat. You cannot, have any designation, give any sifat to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's Subhan. Subhanallah means, His glory be to Him. He is beyond all of that. That's the true Tawheed. Right? And when you get rid of that, what is that? That's very Allahu. That's why it's called Hu. Hu means mystery. Allah, and Hu is the highest word, highest description of Allah, which is Hu. Right? So Imam Husayn alayhi salam, as we said, how? Why? Fadu'u biha, come to them. They will describe, they will explain, they will teach me what Tawheed is. That's why the Quran also says, Illa ibadakal mukhlasun. The ayah continues, Subhanallah ya ma yusuf. You cannot depict Allah, who He is and what He is. Illa, but there is Illa. Illa is very important. Without Illa, there will be nothing. La ilaha, no God, but Illa is there. Illa Allah. Right? Subhanallah amma yusifun. Wal asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina. Insan is at loss. Period. That's it. Allah have said. Tamam shud. Insan is at loss. Wal asr innal insana, even with inna, whenever the inna comes, is certainly man is at loss. That's it. The example that they give of man is that when you have ice and you want to sell the ice in the in summer, you take the ice outside and you stand with the heat. Especially in San Diego, it's really hot. It's better than other places compared to the Bay Area and all that, right? It becomes water. You quickly have to sell. So insan, wal asr innal insana lafi khusr. We are in the state of khusran. Allah have mentioned, has stamped it. But illa alladhina amanu. But those who have iman, those who have faith, those who have belief, right? It's very important to have that belief, that faith and iman. And that's why we look at materialism, communism, postmodernism. They want to get rid of the belief from us. They want to snatch that away. They want to take that belief away, right? Illa alladhina amanu, but not just amanu, wa amanu salihat. You also have to do good deeds. You have to do good deeds as well. Wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. And at the same time have that sabr. Enjoying. It's very important. As the fifth Imam, our brother, recited one of the du'as today. Ya muqallib al qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. This dua is from the sixth Imam, taught to Zurara, was one of the companion of the sixth Imam, and he says, recite this dua, Zurara, a lot. Especially those, he says, who will come in the future, because having iman, belief, is like having a fiery, hot charcoal in the palm. How difficult it is. So the same way to have iman in the modern period is like that. It's very difficult. So what shall we do? Sixth Imam says, recite, Ya muqallib al-qulub, sabbit qalbi ala dinik. Ya, the one who, changes the heart, who make my heart strong in terms of my deen, in terms of my religion. I should be very strong, right? Because, the alaim akhir zaman, according to Amirul Mu'mineen, he says that, a young person will leave the house with iman. But by the time he come back from work, he come back at home in the evening, he will not have iman. It will become like that. That's the alayam of akhir zaman, and we are seeing, right? So therefore, illa ibadukal mukhlasun. You cannot depict Allah, you cannot describe Allah, but those who are mukhlasun, they can. Not mukhlis, but mukhlas. There's a difference in mukhlis and mukhlas. Mukhlas, as you all know, you may have heard before as well, are those who are purified by Allah. Mukhlis is the one who purify oneself, right? One try to purify oneself, that person is mukhlis. But one who Allah purifies is mukhlas. إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. The Ahl Bayt are purified by Allah. They have gone through a special purification. They ask Aghay Bahjat, how can you become mukhlas? So he said, you have to be mukhlis first. After being mukhlis, then Allah will make you mukhlas. Because, Asra bi-abdihi layl min al-masjid al-haram, min al-masjid al-aqsa. Prophet striving and struggling, going into the cave of Hira, meditating, worshipping, right? And then finally, Allah says, come to this, Mi'raj takes place. Allah takes them in one night, a journey to the furthest of the furthest. وَقَانَ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنَ وَأَدْنَى, right? He goes towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with that special invite, in that one night. Allah takes him. So we have to struggle, strive, purify ourselves. Then eventually, Allah will grasp and take. Hur, what happened with him? He was struggling. I see myself between heaven and hell. I cannot make a decision. He was struggling. And what did Husayn do? Husayn grasped him. Took him where? Took him to the point where sixth Imam says, may my life sacrifice to her. To that level. Who did? Is Husayn. Illa ibadak al-mukhlasun. These are these. Ahl Bayt are that. Right? So therefore, Dua Arafa, as we say, It is a dua in which the height of Tawheed to the capacity that a human soul can comprehend is mentioned in there. That is dua Arafa. Because we talk about zarf, the glass, the value of, the value of the zarf of the container is because what it contains in it. Insan, is limited. He is limited. He can only contain a little, not much. And we all have different, capacities. Because you all have the capacity of understanding Ahlul Bayt. You all have the heart that contain the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. That's why you've been introduced to that. Not everyone have the capacity to take that. We are lucky. We should be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our children are lucky. And this is how our children learn. Their hearts expands. We are increasing their capacity by bringing them into the Majlis of Husayn. Their heart expands. And when their heart expands, is capable of downloading, is capable of having that knowledge of Tawheed. Our life is that. Our journey is that. Ya ayyuhal insan, innaka kadihun ila rabbika kadhan famulaqi. We are making a journey. We are toiling. We all are going. Where are we going? For mulaqi, for the mulaqat, for meeting the beloved. For meeting. We are lover of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are ashiq of Allah. Husayn was ashiq. Husayn was a lover. Lovers are usually mad, right? Majnoon. Layli wa Majnoon. Majnoon is a crazy guy. Majnoon is known as crazy. Right? Why? Because he is in love with Layli, with Layla. Right? He's in love with Layla. Right? So crazy as they say that, ye sheri has ke, as they say, Paye sag busid. He used to kiss the feet of the dog. Majnoon will kiss the feet of the dog. They say, are you crazy? Why are you kissing the feet of the dog? He says, because this dog sometimes goes into the house of Layla. That's Majnoon. We have to become Majnoon of our beloved, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why that is called Ishq. That's why when you look at Husayn, we'll say, what is he doing? That's why John says, Ana Majnoon al-Husayn. He was Majnoon of Husayn. That love. Our maktab, our school is a school of love. That's what Husayn taught us. To love Allah. In your love, oh Allah, I bring all of my family. That's why we are. Are you happy? Right? So, the ma'rifat is given by the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. The understanding of what Tawheed is. The Ahlul Bayt have reached to the full capacity that a human being, that an insan can bring that knowledge of God and give it to us. Right? And this knowledge, when it reaches to the maximum, then the soul transfers to a higher level, which is Barzakh. And in Barzakh, it gains knowledge as well. We never stop learning. The Majlis of Imam Husayn never stops. Even in Barzakh, we have Majlis of Imam Husayn. It just carries on. Right? In Barzakh, we learn. Even after that, it's always we are gaining. Because Allah is infinite. To know Allah, it is not possible. We will all, even in Jannah, we will be learning. Right? This is a lifelong, journey, eternal life, and we have. Because we will be unable to comprehend in full capacity, because we are the makhluk, we are the creation of Allah. We cannot comprehend Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's beyond. That's why the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, when you look at it that, when it comes to death, they say that Ali was saying, okay, tighten your back, Ali, tie the belt and get ready for death. It is coming. For example, in Riwayat we hear, it has the human sort of connotation to it. They have like sweat coming on their forehead. Not that they are afraid of death, no. But the question is actually witnessing Allah, entering a different realm to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on a higher level. It brings about that state of awe, that state of fear, right? One will be like, oh my God, something much greater, that one have to see. Musa alayhi salam, he fainted. He said in the beginning, oh, I want to see you, O Allah. Right? He asked Allah that I want to see you. Then Allah said, okay, come. وَعَدْنَا مُوسَى ثَلَاثِينَ لَيْلَةً وَأَتْمَمْنَاهَا بِعَشْرٍ. Right? 30 nights was promised. 10 nights were given him. A total 40 nights. Yeah. And then he said, oh, I want to see you. Allah says, Musa, okay, fine. You want to see me? Look at the mountain. One after the other, the angels were coming. He said, oh my God, is this you? He said, no, wait. Persevere, Musa, wait, it's still not yet. Then, all of a sudden, tajalli happened. A theophany takes place. The whole mountain was burnt and Musa went unconscious. That was not Allah. That was just a tajalli. That was just a glimpse, a manifestation, a spark from that wujud that Musa couldn't take. The Ulul Azam Prophet, he went unconscious. You cannot see Allah, right? But the eye of the heart, but those who have that heart, as we said, you have to clean that heart, right? They are able to see, because they ask Imam Ali, do you worship Allah? I say, yes. So do you see Allah that you worship Him? He says, how can I worship something that I don't see? Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib says, yeah, I do see Allah, but with the eye of the heart, not with this physical eye. We cannot comprehend, we cannot see. It's not material, So therefore, the Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam have that knowledge and that understanding, and they are capable of bringing that, because they have purified so much, they have expanded heart so much, alam nashra laka sadrak, right, Rasulullah, that they were able to bring down the word of Allah, the Quran itself. It was the Prophet's heart which was capable of bringing the word of Allah. Otherwise, as Allah says, if I was supposed to be revealed this Quran upon the Jabal, upon the mountain will be shattered into dust. If the Quran was revealed on the mountain will be shattered into, because the mountain with that huge capacity does not have the power to take the Quran. But the heart of Rasul, where the Quran was revealed, was that powerful, was that strong, that took the wahi, that took the Quran. There are different states of the wahi as well. Sometimes the wahi would come and the Prophet would be on the camel will sit down, right? So it was so powerful, the verses of the Quran, because it's the word of Allah, right? Now, it's very difficult to, like something that is immaterial, something that is spiritual, to come that into physical state. It's not an easy task. Can you, for example, I ask, can you, for example, make a statue or a physical object of what you dreamt last night? It's not easy. What you have dreamt is immaterial. Can you make an object of the love that you have for your mother? Make an object. It's very difficult to make, and it will not be able to manifest. It will not be able to relay that, because that immaterial thing, that love and that dream, that spirituality, is very difficult to transfer it. It will be incomplete, right? So we are talking about this, the word of Allah. Allah is immaterial. It says Kalamullah, right? For that to be, it was only the language of Arabic which was capable of having that, and it was only the heart of the Prophet which was capable to transfer that, because Prophet is that pure, he has reached to that level of clarity and purity that the light of Allah was transferred here. So the same way the Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam, when they are speaking, when they are saying things, when they are reciting dua, it contains within it the depiction, the description of the highest level of human capacity that can understand Allah. That's why we humble ourselves vis-a-vis Ahl Bayt alayhimus salam. That's why they become that wasila and tawassul for us. That's what tawassul means. These people who attack tawassul, so on and so forth, that's what it means. That you come to them so that they take us to Allah, so that they introduce who Allah is. We have no knowledge of how to communicate. We don't have that adab. You say, oh, okay, you can ask Allah directly. Yes, you can ask Allah directly. Who is saying? The Ahl Bayt, they themselves say that. Allahumma inni as'aluka du'a tawassul. They say, oh Allah. Wasma du'a idha da'utuk munajat. It's all they are asking Allah. They are teaching us to ask Allah directly. But they are teaching us the adab, the way, the methodology of knowing Him and the proper way of asking Him. There's certain adab that one have to, acquire that, have that. When you have that adab, then that relationship takes place. Your child, your son will come and ask for something, just very rough, rudely, you will give. But when your son have that adab, when your child have that adab, when your friend have that adab, it creates that relationship. And you will give more as well, right? So the same way, if we have that adab, that methodology and that understanding, that marifat, and the only way the friend or the child will have that adab is because when the child understands the position and maqam of the father. If I have that understanding who he is and what he is, then I will be having that respect towards the father. If I know that, yes, this person, my parent, my father, have more experience, have knowledge, have understanding, have seen the world, and know about things, the child will say, oh, you don't know that. These days it's like this. I know. Everything is I know. You don't know anything. Oh, come on. Whatever I say is my way or highway. There's huge highways in San Diego. I was counting. There's a 6-lane when we come here, in England we have like 3-lane, we're driving like this in small cars. Right? So these days it's like that. And look at the beauty of Allah. Look at the beauty of Allah. That Allah says, right? Even if your father, if your parents are advising something with their calculation, with their understanding, by keeping in mind many things, and okay, I agree, they may not see what you're seeing, but even if you listen to their advice, Allah will put barakah and blessing in that. Allah will change your future because of that respect that you have towards your parents, towards your teachers, towards your seniors who are advising you, right? Because there is this lack of faith, lack of iman, as they say, Rabbi, in that wala taqul lahuma uffin, do not even say uff in front of your parents, right? What does that uff mean? That's like that frown. You frown a bit. You say, oh. Leave aside, arguing, right? And at the same time, one must not misuse this position too. That is also happens these days that we need to be careful about, right? Whatever I say, that's it. There's no ifs and buts. Sometimes you have like that, right? That is also, one have to be compassionate, one have to be understand and discuss, not just this, whatever I say you have to, right? So therefore, they have reached, the Ahl Bayt alayhi salam have reached to that point. They know that methodology, they know that adab and adab, because they have that marifat of Allah. As they have that marifat of Allah, they teach us. So they will give us that marifat. They will give us that knowledge. They will not just say, okay, just do subhanallah, just do zikr. No, they will teach us the science behind that, the knowledge behind that. What does it really mean? They will interpret it. They will transfer that knowledge to us. And if we are sincere and loyal and willing and wanting and struggling and striving, even if my heart does not have that capacity, they will just place a hand in my heart. I will be able to comprehend. That's the miracle. That's the mujiza. Mullah Sadra, right, a great philosopher of 16th century, the transcendental philosopher, he wrote like Asfar. It's a very famous book in philosophy, The Four Journeys, which talks about detail of the sciences of the soul, of the nafs. He says, when I used to get stuck in philosophical problems, I will go to Hazrat Masuma Salamullah alayha, and I will do isqom, and I will do tawassul to her. After doing the tawassul, my problem is solved. Ibn Sina, a great philosopher, Avicenna, he says that when I used to be a genius person, when I used to get problem, I will go to the Masjid al-Mahal. I will go to the masjid of my neighborhood and I will pray 2 rakat prayer, and after that my problem was resolved. Because the reality of ilm, as 6 Imam have said, that al-ilmu nurun yaghzifu fi qalbi man yasha. It's not me. Al-ilmu nurun yaghzifu fi qalbi man yasha. Ilm, knowledge, is light. And Allah placed, knowledge is not like by books. Yes, that's a type of ilm, that's a type of knowledge, but the true knowledge is actually light. And Allah places this light in whosoever hearts Allah desire. Obviously, Allah is not going to desire to put this knowledge on somebody who is not ahl, is not capable of. Allah will put this knowledge in those hearts which are striving and struggling. Through that, they will know their Imam. Hur, that's what happened with Hur. Hur was striving and struggling, and eventually he was provided with that knowledge of the Imam, where it changed him, right? So Dua Arafa have that gems of Tawheed, which reflects which also reflects the point where we could understand the Imam, on what level he is, right? From the day of Arafa, with Dua Arafa, right? To the day of Ashura, which is the peak. So the Dua of Arafa is theoretical, the day of Ashura is practical. See? So we have to learn the theory, and then we have to then we'll be able to appreciate the practical reality of Husayn, who he was and what he was and what he has done. Like as we said, the highest level of comprehension and the highest level of sacrifice that we haven't seen anybody have gone through what Husayn have gone through, right? In terms of that sacrifice, right? Now, in order to reach to Abu Abdullah al-Husayn, we have to go through the Bab, which is Abul Fazl Abbas. Very briefly, because once again we haven't started the real discussion of the Dua of Arafah, but it is important. This is adab. As we're speaking about adab, otherwise we have to go to Abul Fazl. We cannot go to Imam Husayn and discuss Imam Husayn. Who is Abul Fazl? One dua that we have, zikr that we have, has been highly recommended to be recited 133 times for any problems, for any difficulties that one have, and it is a mujarrab, which means it is, it's been experimented on different issues, problems, difficulties, and it gives the fruit. And that is Ya Kashif al-Karb an Wajhil Husayn Ikshif Karbi bihaqqi Akhik al-Husayn. Kashif al-Karb, what does that mean? Karb, Karbala, right? Karb means difficulties. Karb means heavy problem, difficulties, right? And then we are saying Ya Kashif al-Karb. Kashif means unveiling, kashf, unveiling, getting rid of. Kashif al-Karb, the unveiling of the problems and difficulties. From who? An Wajhil Husayn, from the face of Husayn. Ikshif Karbi, Ikshif is my, get rid of my, unveil my karb, my problems. For who? Bihaqqi Akhik al-Husayn, for the sake of the brother Husayn. For the sake of Husayn, get rid of my problem. For the sake of your brother Husayn, get rid of my problem. This is a translation and a little bit meaning of it. Who are we addressing this to? We are addressing directly to Abul Fazl Abbas. We are telling, oh Abul Faz, Ya Kashif al-Karb, you are the Kashif al-Karb from the face of Husayn. Husayn is known that. Because that's why when Abul Fazl was shaheed, when Hazrat Abbas was martyred, Imam Husayn said, Abbas, my back is broken. That's Hazrat Abbas was known to be the one who get rid of all worries from the camp of Imam Husayn alayhi salam. As long as the alam was there, as long as the standard was there, the children were at ease and peace. We have Uncle Abbas, nothing to worry about. Umar Saad, on the night of the 9th of Ashura, they say that they spend most of the time planning when Abbas will come to fight us, how are we going to fight? If he comes to fight. Because it wasn't easy to really defeat this great soldier, this great warrior. He knew the art of war to the highest level taught by his father, Amirul Mu'mineen. Because there are different methodologies of fighting in the warfare, right? And Abul Faz knew that, right? Because his father taught him. Anyways, we'll speak about that later on when we have the night of Hazrat Abbas. So, Ya Kashif al-Karb an wajhil Husayn, ikshif karbi bihaqqi akhika Husayn. Very briefly, you are referring to Hazrat Abbas. You are asking Hazrat Abbas, get rid of my problem. Who are you? You are the one who get rid of the problem for Husayn. For whose sake? For your brother Husayn, please get rid of my problem. Because Abbas loved Imam Husayn so much. Abbas knew who Imam is. When you recite in his ziyarat, Al-Muti'u lillahi wa Rasulih, Al-Abdu Salih. He's known as the Abd Salih. And as a matter of fact, when we do our salat and we say, Assalamu alayka ayyuhan Nabi, Assalamu alayka ya ibadallah salihin. This ibadallah salihin, Abbas is in there. Is that Abdul Salih? Right? We are giving salam to ibadallah salihin. He's from the salihin. Right? That is Abbas. And he knew the Imam, who he is. Right? But now, if you look at it, and then as he knew the Imam, as he loved the Imam, and everything for him was the Imam, right? Who was his brother, we give his wasila of the brother. We say, for the sake of your brother, Akhik al-Husayn, solve my problem. Now here, what we were discussing earlier, it comes to connect that. What we said that a human being, an insan, can reach to the level of Khalifatullah. When he becomes Khalifatullah, he's a representative of Allah. When he's a representative of Allah, he's what? He's Kashif al-Karb. He becomes Kashif al-Karb. Because he is manifestating the Asma Ilahi. He has become Insan-e Kamil. And Insan-e Kamil is mirroring God on earth. Is mirroring God to the maximum capacity that an insan can manifest. An insan is the highest on the chain of creation. So therefore only a human being can manifest God on earth to its maximum capacity in the creational world. Only insan can manifest to the highest capacity, reflect that, mirror God. Right? The same way, the only book that can mirror the word of Allah is the Quran. There's no other book, no hadith, no book, nobody can. Only the Quran can mirror the word of Allah. So it's the same way, the only insan can mirror God. And which insan? Insan-e Kamil, the insan who have reached its perfection, that Kamal, who have become that perfect. Right? So now here, Abbas is Kashif al-Karb. He has reached to that maqam. Now, as he has reached to that maqam and he manifests certain aspects of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he manifests certain aspects of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which other asma, which other names will have a relationship with. For example, Allah is Qahar. Allah is Ghafur. Allah is Qahar. Allah is also Ghafur, Allah is also Qahar. Now we invoke, or now we connect with the name of Ghufraniyat, of forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, although he's Qahar as well. There's no difference in that. So now you have one Insan-e Kamil as Husayn, and you have another Insan-e Kamil as Abbas. So now when we are saying that Abbas is the one who get rid of the, an wajhil Husayn, It's like Allah is Ghafoor, Allah is, Qahhar as well, Allah is Rahim, Allah is Adil as well. It's all Asma. It's all the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So therefore, Abbas manifests that reality, right? And that is Abbas. He has reached to that level of Kamal and perfection, but at the same time, very humble and realizes the worldly affair and reality, the hierarchy that exists within here. Imam is an Imam. Now, obviously, as we said, we're going to talk about the third day dua of Imam Hassan Askari in regards to Imam Husayn to understand who Imams are. Now, imagine this is Abbas. Now we'll talk about who Imam is tomorrow night with that dua. Okay, we'll bring in some very mysterious, mystical, irfani narratives from the sixth Imam in regards to who an Imam is. So this is Abbas, and he has reached to that maqam, to that level. Now we seek permission from this Abbas that, oh Allah, oh Abul Faz, help us to really make this majalises, because this is Bargah-e-Abul Fazl Abbas. This center is known as Bargah-e-Abul Fazl Abbas. So this place is with your name. We have come from far. We have come from different places. We are struggling. We are striving. We are trying to keep that light of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam in our heart, in our community, in this place. Oh Hazrat Abbas, help us. Resolve all the problems that we have. Make us from the companions of the 12th Imam. Take care of our youth, of our children, so that they remain steadfast in their iman, in their belief, in their love with Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. That's why we are here. Right? Make them like how they were true lovers, how Hur was to Imam Husayn. How Hur had that understanding of Bibi Fatima. As they said that when Imam Husayn alayhi salam was about to leave towards Kufa, horse hold the rein of Husayn's steed and stopped Imam Husayn. And Imam Husayn came in Jalal, in anger. Now this anger, once again, we are talking about anger of an insan kamil. Allah is Qahhar. Husayn becomes in a state of anger, in a state of awe, Qahhariyat of Allah. May your mother cry, O Hur. When Hur tried to stop Imam Husayn alayhi salam from moving, because he was given the task by Ibn Ziyad to arrest Imam Husayn and bring to him in Kufa, right? So Hur came with 1,000 men, and he first, came to Imam Husayn and asked him that but Imam Husayn, said that people in Kufa have invited me. I brought women and children. These are the letters. Hur said, no, I never wrote a letter to you, and I don't know about this. I will write to Ibn Ziyad I will get the order from him, because Hur was known to be the shurta, so known to be the police, and he has his own sort of army. He wasn't known as politically smart as such, that we look in the pages of history that he was politically smart, right? But still, in terms of his responsibility, he was something, a task is given to him, he will perform that task, right? So Ibn Ziyad gave him the task to stop Imam Husayn or to arrest Imam Husayn and bring it to me. That was his task, that was his mission, right? So he would be faithful towards what the task been given to him. But in terms of his political smartness, the history doesn't really show any indications of that as such. However, some of the scholars have said that he was actually a Shia, but he was in Taqiyya, but he was a Shia. These are the things that we find in regards to him. But in any case, so Hur was given this task, right? And it shows that he had some ma'rifat of Ahlul Bayt, right? And here, when he holds the rein of the horse of Imam Husayn and not allowing him, where are you going, kind of thing, Imam Husayn said, may your mother cry on you. Now, this statement of Husayn doesn't seem to be very, virtuous or have that etiquette, but there's a purpose for that. Imam Husayn is shaking Hur, is waking Hur up. Hur realize, one day why did Imam Husayn delay? They wanted to attack Imam Husayn on the 9th. One of the reason was that on the 10th, Hur will join Husayn. Look at that. Imam Husayn planned everything. He said, give me one night. Why? Next morning Hur is here. Next morning Hur from Jahannam he comes. Imam Husayn was after pure souls who want to save their life. This is the Karwan-e Husayni that wants to save. Even the last minute, the last call, Hur came. So Hur said that I will not dare saying this. How can I say this? Because your mother is Fatimatu Zahra. And I can only say good things about her. She's the daughter of the Prophet, right? Okay? So Hur realized that. Hur had that, in him, that light in him. When Husayn wanted to pray, Hur said, I want to join you. You be the Imam. He said, Imam Husayn said, no, you are with your people. You do your Jamaat, I do my Jamaat. He said, no, I want to pray behind. So there was this, possibility. The substance of Hur was good. And Husayn was guiding him. Right? So finally, Ashur ka din aata hai. Azan Ali Akbar se Ashur ka din shuru hua hai. شاید یہ اذان علی اکبر ہور کو یا اذان رسول اللہ یاد دلائی ہو. حیا علی خیر العمل, کہ خیر عمل کی طرف جا اے ہور. اور پھر جب ہور کو اس کے دوست اور اس کے سپاہی دیکھتے ہیں, وہ کہتے ہیں ہور تمہاری شکل کیوں ایسی ہو گئی ہے, تمہارا چہرہ زرد ہو چکا ہے, تم گھبرا رہے ہو موت سے, ہم نے تو کبھی تمہیں ایسا نہیں دیکھا, تم تو دلاور ہو, تم تو پہلوان ہو, تم ایک ایسے سپاہی ہو 1000 کے مقابلے تم جنگ کر سکتے ہو, یہ تو 1000 بھی نہیں ہے, تم کیوں اس طرح سے پریشان نظر آ رہے ہو. کہا گیا ہے کہ ہر ہاتھوں میں تھرتھراہٹ آ گئی تھی ہر کے. جب ہر سے پوچھا گیا تو ہر نے کہا میں اپنے آپ کو جنت اور جہنم کے بیچ دیکھ رہا ہوں, کہ میں جنت اختیار کروں یا میں جہنم اختیار کروں, کیا میں جنت کی طرف جاؤں کیا میں جہنم کی طرف جاؤں. جنت کوئی نہیں حسین ہے, اور جہنم اس طرف ہے, مگر اس طرف مجھے کہا گیا ہے کہ تمہیں یہ مال اور یہ منصب اور تمہاری جان سب تمہارے لیے ہے, اور اگر تم حسین کے ساتھ جنگ کرو گے, مگر میں جنت اور جہنم کے بیچ نظر آ رہا ہوں. کیونکہ امام حسین نے ہر کو بھی بشارت دے دی تھی, کیونکہ ہر جب ابن زیاد کے محل سے نکلا تھا تو وہ یہ کہتا ہے, یہ روایت میں ہمیں ملتا ہے کہ مجھے 3 دفعہ آواز سنائی تھی, اے ہر ہم تجھے جنت کی بشارت دیتے ہیں. 3 دفعہ. اور پلٹ کے دیکھ رہا ہے, کوئی نظر نہیں آ رہا ہے. پھر وہ سوچا کہ یہ جنت کی بشارت کس طرح, کہ میں تو نواز رسول کے ساتھ جا رہا ہوں جنگ کرنے کے لیے یا انہیں روکنے کے لیے, جنگ کی نیت سے تو نہیں آیا تھا, اور انہیں روکنے کے لیے کس طرح سے بشارت ہے جنت کی. پھر میں نے یہ جو مجھے مکاشفہ ہوا تھا, یہ جو مجھے آواز سنائی تھی, میں نے حسین سے عرض کی. حسین نے کہا کہ ہاں تمہیں جنت کی بشارت ملی ہے. دیکھیں امام حسین مختلف طریقوں سے ہر کی ہدایت کرتے چلے آ رہے ہیں. اسے یہ نوبت تک لا پہنچے ہیں کہ وہ سمجھ رہا ہے کہ حق ایک حسین کی طرف ہے, اور پھر اس نے جو ہے ٹھان لی کہ میں جا رہا ہوں. مگر اسے ایک خوف ہے کہ میں نے حسین کو اس بیابان میں, اس کربلا کی طرف روک دیا ہے, پانی بند کیا گیا ہے, کیا میری توبہ قبول ہوگی؟ میں وہاں جاؤں گا شاید مجھے مار ڈالے, شاید مجھے قتل کر ڈالے. لیکن ہر یہ کہتا ہے کہ کوئی بات نہیں, میں ضرور جاؤں گا. اور آہستہ آہستہ غلام سے کہتا ہے کہ میری سواری تیار کرو. تو پھر غلام پوچھتا ہے کیا بھاگ رہے ہو تم, جنگ سے ڈر کے بھاگ رہے ہو؟ اور کہتا ہے نہیں, میں تو اپنی جنت کی طرف جا رہا ہوں. تو کیا اکیلے جا رہے ہو؟ ہمیں بھی لے چلو۔ غلام بھی حر کے ساتھ، اور پھر حر کا بیٹا بھی حر کے ساتھ، یہ تین افراد قیام امام حسین کی طرف آگے بڑھتے چلے جا رہے ہیں۔ اور پھر یہاں پہ جب قیام امام حسین کی طرف سے دیکھ رہے ہیں کہ تین سوار آ رہے ہیں، حبیب ابن مظاہر اور پھر مسلم ابن اوسجہ، ابو الفضل عباس کہتے ہیں کہ امام حسین کی حفاظت کرنا شروع کرو، گھیر لو امام، اس گھیرے میں لا لو امام حسین کو تاکہ یہ لوگ حملہ نہ کرنے پائے۔ لیکن حسین کہتے ہیں نہیں، میرا مہمان آ رہا ہے اسے۔ جب حر امام حسین کے قافلے کے نزدیک پہنچتے ہیں، اپنے آپ کو گھوڑے سے گرا دیتے ہیں اور اپنے بیٹے سے کہتے ہیں کہ یہ میرے ہاتھوں کو باندھ دو اور مجھے ایک اس طرح سے لے جاؤ حسین کے پاس جس طرح سے ایک قیدی کو لے جایا جاتا ہے۔ امام حسین کے پاس حر قریب آتا ہے اور اپنے آپ کو حسین کے قدموں پہ گرا دیتا ہے اور کہتا ہے کہ کیا میری توبہ قبول ہوگی اے حسین؟ ارفع رأسک، امام حسین کہتے ہیں حر اپنا چہرہ اٹھا، اپنے سر کو اٹھا، اور حسین گلے لگا لیتے ہیں۔ اللہ نے بھی میں بھی تجھے قبول کیا ہے حر، اور اللہ نے بھی تیرا توبہ کو قبول کیا ہے حر، گلے لگا لیتے ہیں۔ اور پھر جب حر دیکھتا ہے کہ قیام میں کچھ بچے پردہ ہٹا کر دیکھ رہے ہیں، اور ایک بچہ ان میں سے یہ کہتا ہے کہ یہی وہ شخص تھا جو ہمارے بابا کو روکا تھا، تو حر تڑپنے لگتا ہے اور کہتا ہے کہ مولا مجھے اجازت دے، میں جا کے ان ماؤں اور بچوں سے معافی مانگوں کیونکہ میرے طرف سے آپ لوگ یہاں پر ہیں۔ اور حر جو ہے قیام کی طرف آتا ہے جہاں پہ بچے ہیں اور بیبیاں ہیں، اور بلند آواز کے معافی مانگتا ہے، اور وہاں سے ایک پیغام آتا ہے۔ علی کی بیٹی کہتی ہے کہ حر خوش آمدید، حر تم آئے ہو میرے بھائی کی مدد کے لیے۔ اور پھر اس کے بعد حر امام حسین سے کہتا ہے کہ اے حسین، اے آغا، اے مولا، میری وجہ سے آپ یہاں پہ ہے، مجھے اجازت دے کہ میں سب سے پہلے قربان ہو جاؤں آپ کے لیے۔ اور پھر یہاں پہ کہا گیا کہ حر اپنے بیٹے کے ساتھ اور غلام کے ساتھ جنگ کے لیے نکل جاتا ہے۔ ایک ایسا سوار ہے جو دلیر ہے، جو قدرت مند ہے، جو بہت ہی قوی ہے، 1000 کے مقابلے میں جنگ کر سکتا ہے، اور کیا معرکے کی جنگ حر نے کی ہے۔ اور پھر دیکھتا ہے کہ ایک دم ایسا وار دشمن کی طرف سے ہوتا ہے کہ اس کا بیٹا شہید ہو جاتا ہے۔ جب اس کا بیٹا شہید ہو جاتا ہے تو یہاں پہ کہا گیا ہر شہید کی لاش پہ ہمارے حسین پہنچے ہیں۔ جب بیٹا شہید ہو جائے، حر پہنچنے سے پہلے، باپ پہنچنے سے پہلے حسین حر کے بیٹے کی لاش پر ہے، اس کا سر لے ہوئے اس کا خون پاک کر رہے ہیں۔ اور پھر اس کے بعد جب حر چاہتا ہے کہ اپنے بیٹے کی لاش کو اٹھاؤ، حسین کہتے ہیں باپ بیٹے کی لاش نہیں۔ یہ داغ کسی نے نہ دکھائے کہ باپ بیٹے کی لاش کو اٹھائے۔ تم تو ہمارے مہمان ہیں، میں تمہیں اجازت نہیں دے سکتا۔ آپ تصور کر سکتے ہیں کہ حسین علی اکبر کی لاش کس طرح سے کوئی نہ تھا۔ اور پھر بیویاں خیام سے باہر نکلتی ہے، بچے آتے ہیں، کہتے ہیں کہ اس بوڑھے باپ کو مدد کرو کہ اپنے کڑیل جوان کی لاش کو اٹھائے۔ پھر اس کے بعد حر دوبارہ رجس پڑھتے ہوئے ہدایت کرتے ہوئے دشمنوں کو اور کہتے ہوئے کہ میں اپنی جان اپنے آغا اور اپنے مولا کے لیے قربان کروں گا، دوبارہ جنگ کرنا شروع کرتا ہے۔ اور دشمن یہ کہتے ہیں کہ اکیلے اسے جو ہے حملہ ہم نہیں کر پائیں گے، سب ایک ساتھ مل کر حر پہ حملہ کیا جائے۔ جب ایک ساتھ مل کر حر پر حملہ کیا گیا، اس کے گھوڑے کو زخمی کیا گیا۔ جب گھوڑا زخمی ہوتا ہے، گھوڑے کی زین سے زمین پر آتا ہے، کہتا ہے السلام علیکم یا باب اللہ، میرے مولا، میرا آغا، میرا سلام آپ پہ ہو۔ زمین پر آنے کے باوجود بھی زمین پر چلتے ہوئے جنگ کرتا ہے۔ 40 افراد کو واصل جہنم کیا حر نے۔ پھر اس کے بعد جب ایک دم اس پر ایک ساتھ حملہ ور ہوتے ہیں، اس حر کچھ آخری سانسیں لے رہا ہے، اپنے آغا کو پکارتا ہے اور آنکھیں کھول کے دیکھتا ہے کہ حر کا سر امام حسین کے زانو پر ہے، اور پھر وہ تعجب کرتا ہے، حسین آقا آپ پہنچ چکے ہیں، حور کے پیشانی سے خون جاری ہے، اور یہاں پر حسین جس کا وہ رومال جس کا میں نے ذکر کیا ہے، رومال فاطمہ حور کے پیشانی پہ باندھا جاتا ہے، اور پھر اس کے جب یہ رومال فاطمہ باندھا گیا، پھر حور ان دو اصحاب جو امام حسین کے ساتھ آئے ہیں انہیں کہتا ہے حسین کا خیال رکھنا، میں تو جا رہا ہوں، حسین کا خیال رکھنا۔ اور جب حور کا سر زانو میں ہوتا ہے امام حسین کے، میں کہوں گا آپ تصور کریے کہ حسین ہر شہید کی لاش پہ پہنچا ہے اور ہر شہید کا سر اپنے زانو پر رکھا ہے اور خون کی پاک کیا ہے، لیکن جب امام حسین گرم ریتی پہ گرے ہوئے تھے کون تھا جو حسین کا سر اٹھایا ہے؟ اللہ لعنت اللہ علی قوم الظالمین، سیعلم الذین ظلموا ای منقلب ینقلبون، ماتم حسین یا حسین یا حسین۔